Hi, and welcome back to part two of wealth building. In part one, we talked about some of the social aspects of wealth building, the contracts you can keep with yourself to help keep yourself on track with good habits. And in part two, we're going to talk about some of the technical things. And we're going to talk about them in terms of ledgers. And if you don't know what a ledger is, it's a basic accounting term. And just imagine a line down the middle of a page with one thing on one side and one thing on the other. And there are two basic types of ledgers. There's an income statement that has income and expense, and there's a balance sheet, and that has assets and liabilities. Now, you should keep ledgers, even if you don't have an accounting program. Keep it for yourself on a piece of paper. It's best to get an accounting program and make it work that way, but keep these things for yourself and refer to them at least monthly, and it will really assist you in your wealth building journey. So let's start with the income and expense, and let's start with expenses because it's not as glamorous as income, but it's just like the social part of it. They form the foundation of your success is to be able to control expenses. And the three major areas of this in life are cars, your home items, and vacations. So let's start with cars. And now as I make this presentation in the spring of 2017, you can get a car for $20,000 to $25,000 up to $100,000, $150,000. And a lot of people think they really need a nice car that provides status. And these are the types of decisions you want to make to avoid. You want to avoid buying things for status because you could pay $50,000 or $60,000 for a car and you can get a really nice car. But the cost to keep that car, obviously the cost to buy it, and the cost to maintain it are going to be significantly higher than the cost to buy a $30,000 or $35,000 car. And especially the maintenance. People who have never bought an expensive car don't know about this, but you get these expensive performance cars and you get a brake job and it's $600-800. You get a brake job on a $35,000 car, it'll be $150-200. These are things you need to think about. And things you just don't need. You just don't want to covet these possessions when you're younger. You want to build up to that kind of thing and hopefully get them when you're older. And that's a key to wealth building, is the things you don't need now and that you don't purchase now will enable you to get more later. Because in the meantime and in between time, you will take that extra money you could have spent on something expensive and invest it and keep that money and build it up. So a car, just get a good basic car. $30,000 or $35,000, I think, is the kind of price range I'm thinking of for a safe car, long warranty, good consumer reviews, very safe, all the airbags, high crash test rating, good consumer reviews with low repairs, all the things you want in a car that's practical. Then keep that car as long as you can, take care of it, get its maintenance done and keep it as long as possible, because there's nothing like paying off a car and have it paid off, and then the money that you save you can put into other things. So that's a car, that's a big thing. And then the things that you keep in your home, or if you're renting an apartment or a house, and that I think people get bogged down in too, because they really think they need to decorate their house for to impress people, especially visitors that come over. And you don't need to do that. You can impress people that come over by being a good friend and having a good meal and things that don't cost a lot of money. And so, you can buy basic draperies and artwork, or you can get expensive artwork or silk draperies and really spend a lot of money and bury yourself in your house, when in the beginning you need to save money. Less now means more later. So just get the basics, get basic dishes, basic appliances, just basic things that are going to work well, last a long time, use the similar principles of buying a car, things with good warranties, things that'll last a long time and aren't going to cost you extra money. And now vacations. Vacations are tough to regulate in life because you feel like you're entitled to them. I worked hard and I deserve a vacation. And you do deserve a vacation when you work hard. And it's a good thing to look forward to a vacation. You should take them. They're great stress relievers. But you can dream of that European vacation or that great tour around America or that trip to that resort in Canada. You can dream about that for later. In the short term, you need to get control of your expenses. And so you can do things that are are less expensive and that are exciting and fun that maybe you haven't thought of. Stay in your own home state and go to a place in your home state where you haven't been, and tour a factory or a resort you haven't been to, something like that. Or if you're even being more frugal, which is even better, just stay in a hotel in your own hometown. Get out of your house for a few days. Stay, mess up that room instead of your own house and use their pool and eat at their restaurant. Or again, you can even be more frugal and not stay at a hotel at all. Just drive to another city in your state where you've never been and have lunch there. Or then maybe stay the afternoon and see the sights and have dinner and come home. There's a lot of staycations like that you may not be aware of that can limit your expenses. You get away, it's still fun, and you really will find that you've overlooked these beautiful gems within your own state, or maybe an adjoining state if it's close by for you, and places you've never been and things you never thought of, and that's a great idea to save some money and still have a vacation. All right, that's the expense side of the income statement. Let's go over to income. I touched on this a little bit too in the social part of wealth building, and that is you need to maximize your income and organize your life around this, and don't be shy about it. It's the best way, aside from saving money, that you're going to gain money is by having as much coming in as possible. And so you need to, whether you have a job or you have a business, is to think about maximizing income and do everything you can to do that. If in whatever you're doing, business or working for someone else, you want to be an expert in that and let people know you're going to do that, and have you work with your employer on that, or fund it for yourself if you have a business, and get to be an expert and take the classes and meet the people and do the networking and get that thing going forward. And when you're trying to get a job, use that as a method of enticing an employer to hire you. Is always have that, wear that on your sleeve. Is here's my portfolio, here's what I can do for you. What can you do for me? You don't really ask that, but what are the ways of moving up in this company? If I'm doing well, what are the steps up? What are the next jobs? What are the salary increases? Are there bonuses? Are there stock options? Ask about these things. Maximize your income. Obviously, you can do that by maximizing your value, and that's the way you want to do it, but you need to let people know. One thing about wealth building is you got to drop the concept of being shy. Talk about it. Put it out in the open, and do it with your work, do it in your social life, and move forward with your income and move that income up and save money at the same time. If you have a business, make that a part of your business. Make that the ethic of your business. We're going to do well here. I'm going to make you, my employees, part of this. Here's incentives for you. Incentivize yourself. Move that business forward and have a 5-year plan for your business, or if you're an employee, that's what you want to know is where am I going to be in 5 years, and work towards that and measure those goals and keep track of them as things go better every year on your income statement. So that's the income statement, income and expense. Minimize expenses, maximize your income. Now let's get over to the other ledger we talked about, and that's a balance sheet. We have assets and we have liabilities. Once again, let's start with the one that isn't as glamorous. You need to reduce your liabilities. And a liability is just a fancy way of saying debt and a thing you owe somebody else. So you want to reduce debt as much as you can in your life, especially high income debt, and that would be credit cards. And to me, if you charge something on a credit card and you don't pay it off within the month, to me that's an absolute no-no. I don't condone that. I don't suggest that. And if you do that, you need to really analyze that. That is just a huge waster of income. The percentage interest rates on credit cards are insane, even in this era of low interest rates. So do not do that. The only reason to have a credit card is if you pay it off every month and get something out of it, like air miles. So reduce your liabilities. The only place that I can really condone debt, I don't even condone it on or suggest it on a car. Try to buy a car with cash if you can, or put as much down as you can and pay extra on your debt every month until you get that paid down. On a house though, I do suggest that you get debt because it's very difficult to get a decent house in a nice area unless you get a mortgage. However, here's how to buy a house. A house, first of all, if you don't do any other thing for building wealth, you should get a house and pay that thing off in the same way you'd pay off a car, which is pay extra. And the way to buy a house is to get the best house in the best location that you can afford, that's the newest house you can get, and put the most down you can, and the minimum would be 20%. Do not fall for these concepts people throw out there in society. Oh, I want a house 100 years old. Oh, this farmhouse is beautiful, or this old charmer. Don't do that. An old house has old systems. It'll probably have an old roof. It'll have old plumbing. It'll have old electrical. Large, expensive things could break. It'll have old fuses. It'll, and breakers or whatever it has. It'll have an old foundation. Huge, expensive things that you never want to touch on a house when you live there. So get a new house, brand new if you can, within 10 years for sure if you can. And if you're having trouble finding that kind of house in a good area, then get a smaller house in a good area and start there and do with less storage, smaller bedrooms, whatever, until you can move up into a bigger house later. So once again, things you do now, what you put off now, can get you more later. So the house is a big one. The second investment that you can consider that's conservative and good and technical on this technical side of the assets is stocks. Get good quality stocks that will go up over time and that are with good companies, that are growth companies. And here's a key, look at their balance sheet. You do not want a company with high debt because in bad times they can get into big trouble and the stock can really take a dive. Now, stocks can fluctuate, so you want to treat it like your house and own it for a long period of time. Ideally, if you can buy stocks in a low market and then sell them in a high market, if you want to pay that close attention to them, that's a good way to go too. And I don't recommend buying stocks in the short term and selling them. I recommend them holding them over at least a year or more in order to get a capital gain treatment on them. Now, the third area is real estate, as opposed to not your home real estate, but real estate as an investment. And if you buy a rental house or you get a rental apartment or something, these are good investments over a long period of time, but you're starting to get into an area where you're getting yourself a part-time job if you get rental real estate, and you got to treat it like that. And you need to become an expert in the holding of real estate, which is sort of good advice for your home too. And so the thing about real estate, good area, don't let anybody talk you into getting something in a marginal area. And don't believe that an area is up and coming, because they never seem to be up and coming while you own it. And they always seem to decline. And it's a very rare that an area that isn't good becomes good over time. That's just not true. Also get a property that's close by. Real estate should be within a short drive because you'll need to go check it out. And you need to look around your rental real estate. You need to do the same thing with your house. Walk around that thing. Look at the systems. How is your water heater working? How old is that thing? How old do they usually last? Because when a house gets into disrepair or a rental piece of property, it gets much more expensive to repair. And so you want to do preventive maintenance and repair things before they break and become an emergency. A broken water heater can flood a basement, can flood a house, and cause thousands of dollars worth of damage. So stay ahead of the curve on that, and stay ahead of the curve on your asset side. Get a home and pay it off. Get good stocks and keep them. Get rental real estate if you can afford that. But above all things, the number one thing is to get a house and pay that off. Pay extra on your mortgage and pay that down quickly. You'll have no mortgage on that thing, no debt to pay, no interest, and you could pay that off in 15 years or even less, and you'll be a young person with a paid off house. And that's a great boost in life to not have that. And then you can start socking away money in your stocks or your rental real estate and getting to a place of comfort and ease. And when you look at a lifetime of these habits and values of taking less now to earn more later, and taking a long time to have assets grow, and being patient, that you can get $1 million or $2 million And then on top of that, you may have Social Security, if that's still around for us. I don't count on it, but and I don't recommend you do either, but it may be there. You may have a pension, and you'll have these income items and cash saved, and you'll have a good life to live without worrying about money so much, and you'll be able to then do the things that you wanted to do and dreamt of earlier. So those are the ledgers. Get yourself those ledgers. Keep those ledgers. Pay attention to the uninteresting side of the ledger, which is pay attention to your expenses, pay attention to your liabilities, build up your assets, build up your income, and enjoy it over time. Keep it as an exciting goal in your family, and build wealth and be comfortable, and don't worry about life so much.